All right, good evening, everyone. It is 6 o'clock, so we will get started with our first of hopefully many answering sessions of a listening event that we like to do to engage with our community, to hopefully shore up some of the communication lines that have or have not taken place in this district in the past. So, with that said, thank you for taking time out of one of your last 3 Mondays before school starts to spend the evening with us, learning a little bit more about what makes this team great and what's going to move our district forward. We'll start with some introductions. I know that most of them are familiar to everybody that's in the room, but I would like just to start with that as we go through. So I am Dr. Ryan Meads, new superintendent.
My name is Kyle French, district DPP and school safety coordinator.
I'm Nathan Sweet. I'm the director of operations, finance, and human resources.
I'm Dan Monteverde, the technology director.
Hi, Kelly Caldwell, the Midland High School principal.
I'm Jennifer Lidd. I'm the Director of Exception Children's Services.
I'm Tim Moulton, and I'm the Director of Academics.
Natasha Johnson, FRIS Director.
Jerry Big, I'm Middle School and High School Athletic Director.
Casey Elementary Principal.
I'm Aaron Stepp. I'm the Assistant Principal, K-12 for the district.
Charlie Owens, I'm the Maintenance and Transportation Director.
Okay, so we'll talk about the process of how this evening is going to look. We put out a week ago just the survey to ask for questions, and the community responded. I'm hoping that is where a lot of the kind of underlying voices are, is through that visual evidence, because we have 49 responses of different questions that were not targeted to a specific category. They really ran the gamut, everything from finances to communications to leadership, everything you would hope to see in a district that is undergoing that spirit of change. There's a lot of change here that is going to be good, is going to be productive, and it's great that we have so many questions out there that you want answers. So our purpose tonight is to take those questions, we condense them down to the ones that we felt we could give the most substantial evidence and support to. And we're just going to take turns as we go through. The questions will be up here for you to see. I will read the question kind of like from a moderation standpoint, and then the appropriate parties will be able to answer those so that you can have some of the information that you're looking for as we get ready to start for the beginning of the school year. And then hopefully assuage any fears, but also build some enthusiasm. Because again, everybody that's up on the stage feels really good and confident about the school year that's up ahead, some of the important changes that we have put into place, as well as the changes that we're continuing to make to provide stability, build trust, and build that open and honest relationship with our community and our staff. So without further ado, we'll start with the first question, which is really geared towards the district leadership team, is how will you ensure that open and honest communication occurs at the district level and with families? So I'll answer that first, and anybody can jump in from our team to be able to add on to this, is leading by example. I'm somebody that leads with integrity. I don't have anything to hide. I'm always going to be transparent in the decision-making process. Part of that is being collaborative in spirit. Everybody that should have a seat at the table has a seat at the table to give us the most diverse perspective for all of the issues that a school system is going to deal with. I can't lead from a silo. I can't lead from behind a desk. I need a diverse team to be able to help me see things from different perspectives, and that also includes our community. That's why I'm not going to be a stranger with asking you for your input, asking you for your advice, and the things that you would hope that we're going to provide for your students, but also for our staff members. So that's the gist of this answer again is leading by example, leading with integrity, being honest, looking forward to moving our district in the right direction. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add to that? Okay, we'll move on to the second question. Hot topic obviously is the financial state of the district. So how will you ensure that the district will not get into the same financial situation in the future, and what process, procedures, and guidelines are now in place?
So I think the answer to this is really, I know part of this question is what processes, procedures, new guidelines, and a big part of that answer is that we've had processes, procedures, and guidelines that were not followed in the way that they should have been. So the biggest part of this is truly following our own procedures and processes. I know that's been highlighted by the community. I know you're all very aware of this. And that's the thing. We live in a state where we have a very supportive Department of Education, talking to people from other states, they don't get the kinds of support you need, and we get. And it's become very clear through this process that we just need to be more collaborative with them, take the help and the resources that are offered. And we've been doing a lot of that. I've met a lot of people at the Department of Education. This was not how I went to meet our commissioner, but we've got some good contacts, and that's been great. And we obviously have a good team here. We have a lot of knowledge sitting at this table, and in a lot of cases, I feel like people that should have been involved in decision making were not. So that's another big part of it is using what we have. It's like Dr. Reeves said, we can't operate a silo, and that includes departmentally and locally. We have to all collaborate and ask the experts. We have the experts, and I've seen examples where we didn't ask our own experts. I think that's going to be a big part of it, and really just being thoughtful before we make any decisions. It's consulting our people, but also the community, also the board. If they have to come back and explain why we did this or that, and that's going to happen, but it also means that we didn't have enough information out front for there to be thoughtful input. So I think that's my answer. And I know we've talked about it, we've also tweaked some of while we do have the processes and procedures in place, there were some that we had adopted kind of as a one-size-fits-all. We are a small school, so we have re-examined some of those. We've lowered our purchase thresholds, a few things like that. But really, we had all the tools we needed to prevent something like this from happening. We just need to use them.
All right, thank you. How will you ensure that students at Berea have similar opportunities that students from other high schools have, and what will happen with the students that were on the engineering track that we no longer have, and the courses that are within those?
So I would like to begin by saying Berea Community School is very unique in its own way, and we have very unique experiences. And by all means, we definitely want our students to have those exact same opportunities. But we are an independent school district. We are not the county school. So we really have to look at the resources that we have here and maximize those as much as possible so that we can provide those opportunities for our students. One of the things that I've been very impressed with is Berea College has really come through and have begun to provide some supports for us. And we did have a very strong collaboration years ago, and we're starting to get that back. So I think that's one thing that really makes us unique, that will allow our students to have more opportunities. Some of the things that we're doing in the building in the high school is we're really working to polish our career pathways. Those are so important because they put a skill set in our students' hands, and they make them more employable in the community, and it really just gives them that opportunity to have to do more things in the community. Also, our school is heavily embedded in the arts. We have an amazing band program. We have amazing choir, and that's something that we've been very proud of for many years, is being heavily embedded into the arts, and also with our drama and theater program. So we have students that have graduated and they've gone on to be musicians. They've gone on to work in Broadway. So those are very unique opportunities that students in other school districts may not have or may not have gotten. One thing as an instructional leader that I really want to be intentional with, and that's something I've focused on since I arrived here, is just making sure that our overall instruction is high quality and that we're focusing on the rigor, because we know what the data shows. It shows that our scores are currently lower than we want them to be, but I think our students have not gotten an opportunity to show what they can do. And some of that is just due to the high turnover and just so many changes. But I believe in our students, and I think we have the very best. So we're focusing on that high rigor of high quality instruction. We are polishing our tiered interventions. If you're unfamiliar with that, it's a state initiative where students receive higher intervention levels as the data shows that they need that, and then they can graduate in and out of those as they need those interventions. We're focusing heavily on math and reading because the data shows that our students do have gaps in learning in math and reading. So we're really focusing on that. So just polishing those interventions, focusing on high quality instruction, also making sure that we get our students in career pathways and we see those to the end of program status so that they do get a skill set in hand, and really just I think just continuing to keep those arts in the school. As far as the engineering tribe, we did have a full-time engineering teacher last year, but I am very proud to say that we are going to have a .33 engineering teacher coming back, and that is Mr. David Billings. He has an impressive resume, and he's very well versed in engineering. He will be teaching 2 periods of engineering. So for those students that are already on a track, we're trying to be very intentional with scheduling them so that we can get them to that certification status. So we'll be working with Mr. Billings. We have already worked on our schedules to get those students in there so that we can get them certified. My hope in the future is that we could potentially have a full engineering program back, so that's why we're holding on to that with a .33. Also, Mr. Billings is the father of Lieutenant Billings, who is teaching our fire science program, which is another very unique piece. It is one of its own, and we can say that at Berea, we actually initiated that program and got it here into the school. We had 10 students last year that completed the program, and they already have several certifications in fire science. So we're going to really focus on those students in engineering that are close to that end of program status, and hopefully we will have a full-time engineering teacher in the future.
Thanks, Kelly. If I can just add to that, I'm a firm believer that if you don't tell your own story, then someone else is going to tell it for you. And Kelly pointed out very clearly that our fire science program is something that was needed, and we didn't really know how much it was needed until we went to meet with the fire department and the chief, and they were always having trouble recruiting. And so when we partnered with the Berea Fire Department in the city, we not only helped our students, but we also helped the city and the fire department, because now we've laid the groundwork to enable those students who are in this program. They're going to come out with so many certifications that they could just about, I think Lieutenant Billings said that they could just about go in and then start at the fire department. So that is a huge, huge thing. And I'll finish by saying that Madison County is following us in terms of putting in a fire science program. We initiated it, and now this year they're following suit to do their own thing. So we were the first in the county to do that, which kind of goes back to what kind of opportunities can we give to our students here. Well, we were the first. We were the trailblazers with this particular program. And as Kelly mentioned, we're going to continue to look for those types of things that we can open up and generate more of those opportunities for our kids going forward.
Okay, next question. What exactly does Frisk do? Is there a list of things they will do in this academic year?
Okay, I tried to put a massive grant plan into 2 little note cards. So I'm going to just kind of hit the highlights. We have a state plan, so the Kentucky legislature is over Frisk, and they give us components that we have to meet in each school. So in that state plan, Berea Community is a full Frisk, so we serve birth to age 22. We're one of the only schools in the state left that are a combined plan. So we cover kids before they come in the school building, their entire career at Berea Community, and then technically work with them until they're 22, but of course, just whenever they need us. So in our state plan, we have 10 to 12 components that we have to write a grant for every other year. Those components include families in training, preschool, after school, substance abuse, career exploration, family crisis, health services, job development, mental health, family literacy, and post-graduation. We're also required to sit on 6 different community committees. So that is usually a once a month per committee commitment. We bring in a lot of guest speakers for different areas across the school, whether that is Lieutenant Billings to come talk to our kindergartners about fire safety, or the health class and bringing somebody in from the health department to talk to them about substance abuse or vaping, or partnering with our guidance counselors and bringing in speakers for our suicide prevention lessons. We also are coordinators of Red Ribbon Week. We run the Green Dot program at the high school, the Sources of Strength program at the middle school, and a leadership team at the elementary level with our 4th and 5th graders. We partner with the JAG program, Madison County Library, the health department, daycares, Celts at Berea College. Berea College as a whole is a huge supporter. Local dentist, the borough office, housing authority, and the mayor, etc. We also do home visits, so many times that a teacher or somebody feels that a student needs extra assistance, we reach out to the parents. We may do a home visit, see what is needed in the home. We also sit on the Early Childhood Council, so that is a birth to 5, and we do coordinate with the county to meet some needs for our children before they enter the school building. We also coordinate our back to school night, a family financial literacy night, and help to coordinate any family nights that go on at school. We do lessons in various things. Anti-vape, cyber safety, fire safety, dental lesson that is preschool through 5th grade. We always have a program closer to prom time that is about distracted driving and how to be safe around that time of year. We have hygiene lessons for our elementary, middle, and high school. We do time management lessons with our middle schoolers. With our littles, we teach them how to make good friends and what is a good friend. We partner with Miss Lewis and Dr. Fontenez for suicide prevention and lead lessons in that in September and January. We have an anti-bullying program, stress management program, and do a financial literacy program for our high school students. So the Frisk motto is whatever it takes. That's statewide. So we eliminate barriers for children to be successful in school. And for me, that means going above and beyond the grant. So I show up for the kids whatever way they need me, whether it's an advocate, a counselor, a mentor, a sponsor, a coach, or any emergency situations that they have. We also do a lot of things that are outside of our grant, like providing clothing for students. We have a clothing closet at the elementary level, and we provide clothing to middle school and high school. We also provide food when we're able, holiday assistance. So last year we covered 247 kids in the building, full Christmas assistance. Between Miss Marilyn and I, we coach 3 different sports. So assistant coach for high school cheerleading, assistant track coach for high school track, and then Miss Marilyn's also the middle school and high school archery coach. We sponsor clubs, we sponsor prom, we provide feminine hygiene products, we sponsor grandparents' night, we provide weekly food bags for at-risk kids. We do a school-wide service project, so this year we're actually partnering with a factory to recycle aluminum cans, and that can bring money into the school based on how many cans we collect. We are at all dances, graduations, field days, senior trip, testing week support, Cinderella's Closet, 6th grade transition, freshman orientation. So a very long list of things that we do. Is there a specific list? No. We have a grant plan. It's very long. Anybody that would like to see it can come see it. And I keep track of the programs that we run every single year. So you can request that as well. It's about 6 pages, single spaced. So I don't have a list that I put out, but I do have a list if anybody would like to see it. Thank you.
Okay, how does the district ensure that adequate funding is allocated for special education programs, and how are budget decisions made to prevent disproportionate cuts to these services?
Okay, so to kind of start with the beginning part of that question, the special education department is funded through various different sources. Most of that comes through federal funding, which trickles through our state government and then comes back to our schools. So we do have what I call IDEA funding. We have specific IDEA preschool funding. Within our general fund, when you're looking at the SEEK dollars that we receive for all students, for a student who has an IEP, we receive additional funding because they recognize that it takes more funding to provide the supports needed by those students. So that's called SEEK add-on funding. And then we have other smaller sources such as Medicaid billing, some school-based administrative health things that come through the Medicaid program as well. So we have lots of funding sources that come to us that are specific to special education and are to be spent only on students who qualify for that program. With regards to the component of how we maintain the use of that and ensure that that funding is only spent on our students with disabilities, there are several factors in place. One of them is, and it's all written in the law, so every bit of this is in federal regulation, and so there's no way that we as a school district or our state can just instantly make any changes to the funding formula for special education because of the federal regulation. So there's parts of that include what they call non-supplanting, which means we cannot utilize our special education funding for anything that is purchased for all students in the district. So if the district purchases paper, pencils, whatever the case may be, a particular book, and they provide it to all other students, they have to provide it to students with disabilities as well. They can't say you need to purchase that from your funding because you have a different group of students. So we're not allowed to do that, so that protects that special education funding that we receive for that particular program and to be only spent on that program. We also, with regards to the funding, the SEEK add-on funding, that does go into our base funding for everyone, which we call general fund, and I know that Mr. Sweet has given us a lot of tutorials on the different components and types of funding that we have as a school district. So that money does go into that general fund, but we have something called maintenance of physical effort that we have to do every year as a report to our state and federal government, which ensures that the amount of money spent out of that general fund, where all of the SEEK and SEEK add-on dollars go, that the amount of money that is spent from those funds for special education programming for students with IEPs does not decline without specific cause. And specific cause has to be big. It's like a 30-year teacher just retired and you hired a first-year step 0 teacher. So there's probably going to be a $40,000 difference in pay. That's a legitimate reason to reduce some of the funding because now you have a different allocation for your staffing. But it has to be something really big like that that comes into play. before we're allowed to reduce the amount of dollars that the school district spends on students with disabilities that is not specifically targeted to students with disabilities. So that's kind of where we are with that. As I mentioned, it's all very specific in the law. Public Law 94-142 is that idea of special education regulation. So it's all written out very specifically in that, but we have other laws that protect students with disabilities as well, including, the Americans with Disabilities Act. We have non-discrimination components written within our state reporting that we have to do and other things, and all of those things target students with disabilities just as well as it does some other subgroups that we support. And I will also say another way that we really assure that these funds are only spent in the way that they're intended to be spent is I manage all of those components. So as the Director of Exceptional Children, I take care of all of the federal grants, and I assure that they get spent in the right way. So those are in my hands, and that helps a tremendous amount. The other component and pieces within the general fund that we have for special education, those are managed through the work that Mr. Sweet does, specifically within that general fund. And because of the maintenance of physical effort, not being able to reduce the amount that we've spent year to year, we're protected within that grant portion of the school-based funding as well. So there's a lot of protections for students with disabilities, which is why you haven't seen much changes over the years, because we're really able to sustain that funding for what it's intended for.
What upcoming trainings or webinars or basic tech help are you planning to offer both students and parents for the school communication app Aptitude?
Hello, is this thing on? Okay, good. So, Aptitude. So we deployed Aptitude last year at the beginning of the school year to kind of be the teacher to parent communication bridge piece that was rolled out across the district. Now, definitely over the last year, we've kind of noticed how underutilized the product itself was being used across the district. And that is due to a variety of factors. It's better to just focus on how can we use this platform going forward to best benefit the communication in our district, especially with the recent addition to Senate Bill 181 making its rounds, limiting the communication that our district staff can have with students. It's kind of become our main conveyor of communication for the time being. Let's see here. So for upcoming training opportunities for parents, we're actually working on a content page that's going to be on the main website. Parents will be able to visit this. Anyone really that has access to the website can visit it, and it'll have helpful guides, some instructional videos, as well as material provided from Aptitude specifically targeted to help parents and students. As well as in the upcoming parent nights, back to school nights, all of these events that we're going to have parents and students come to visit us here at the school district. We're going to have a table dedicated for Aptitude support. That's a person there. It's probably going to be me. You're welcome to come and see me. I'd be more than glad to take a picture now. Now, one thing I do want to mention, that the accuracy of Aptitude is completely dependent on the online registration component and the data that is submitted to online registration. So if the data that a parent submitted through the online registration process is accurate, then Aptitude should be pulling those fields correctly. That includes things like the language, the preferred language of the student. So for example, my mother, she speaks primarily Spanish. So her home language is set to Spanish and Infant Canvas. So when Dr. Neve sends out a post through Aptitude, it actually will pick up on that and send her a translated version of his post, which is really great for being inclusive to all of the different languages in our community here. But that is something that has to be, first of all, declared in online registration. So it's very important that parents look at that component when they're filling out that registration digital paperwork through the parent portal. So I do want to say though, as of right now, about 58% of our guardians across the district have active Aptitude accounts. So that is now, while that sounds very close to half. What Apogee relays and information is that across school districts, the average amount is going to be closer to 65, because sometimes parents just, we have one parent that will be the main communicator for a student, as well as we sometimes only have, sometimes parents just don't want to download the app, and we can't force you to download the app. But we will do our best to get you on the app and get you trained. So we're really excited about that. As well as, I do want to mention, I believe, and Mr. Foyer maybe can chime in on this. Yeah, so.
Two things that are brought up a lot where our families in elementary have asked questions about Dojo, and we will be using Dojo in elementary, and the reason behind that is when you look at the Senate bill, it's direct contact with students. In elementary, we're not communicating with students with those platforms, so Dojo is appropriate in elementary because it is contact to parent to teacher. Parent to teacher only instead of students. So we will be doing that. The other question that I've received several times, and I see one of the parents out here that's asked for clarification on this, is it's actually with us tonight, is Apogee. We still do use Apogee. When I send a mass email out to all parents in the elementary, you don't have access to the app for that. It's just emailed through Apogee as a platform for me to reach all parents at once. But the parent receives it just strictly in their email box. So that's a tool that I do use Apogee, but you don't have to be concerned with that as an elementary parent. So teachers will be using Dojo to contact elementary parents and guardians.
Since school funding is tied to attendance, what plans do we have to increase attendance for students?
We're going to continue with some of the very successful strategies we had last year. The attendance policy that got put in place last year, I thought was a pretty good success for the increase in our enrollment. And Dr. Meese and I have already talked about some ways to increase attendance using some positive approaches through the school and making school a place you want to be. So those are some of the major ways that we're going to continue with our attendance journey in our district.
And just to emphasize that point, a leading mantra is if you miss school, you miss out. We have to give kids a reason to be at school and something to look forward to and a place that they want to be. If kids don't want to be at school, if our teachers don't want to be at school, if our staff doesn't want to be at school, we're going to have bad attendance across the board. So again, we have to lead by example. They all know that I've charged them with making sure that they're here every day and holding everybody to that level of accountability that we hope to have go all the way down to our students. But again, if they miss school, they miss out. We want them to feel that. We want them to think that if they're not here, they're truly going to miss out on something that is beneficial to them. All right, what steps are in place to strengthen our athletic program, including retaining coaches and retaining players?
Okay, so I think this question, the second part of this question has a lot to, in the way that I will answer the first part. Last school year, 11 of our 15 head coaches for high school were in the building in some capacity, which is huge. So I know this is starting my 10th year as athletic director, and along with our administrators, one of the things that we strive for when we hire coaches to have those folks in the building, if possible. So saying 11 of those 15 head coaches were in the building last school year is huge. Now, looking at going forward, we do have a few positions right now that we still have not hired people for, but it would be 9 of those 15 at the moment. Now, we could possibly, with these new hires, have someone in the building pop up to take these positions. And that would be the hope. With that being said, I think strengthening our athletic programs, we have strong programs here. And obviously at a small class at a school, you're gonna go up and down with some programs and stuff. And we don't measure all this by wins and losses when we say strengthen, okay? So I think starting with our coaches, retaining players or kids in our building is huge to strengthen and continue with what we've done. You got to sell your program. So if I'm a coach If I'm people in the building, our administrators, our staff, the kids who are participating in various teams, I think you've got to sell your program, what you're trying to do, who you are, what you want to be, how much you want to accomplish at this small school. We have great opportunities. We probably offer more sports at a small school than half the state, to be honest with you. There's just very few Kentucky High School Athletic Association events that we do not offer here at the moment. So we have a lot of opportunities there. The one thing we do have several student athletes who are participating in multiple sports throughout the school year. So they're stretched thin a lot of times doing those multiple sports. So again, if I could relay a message, and I have to our coaches in our summer coaches meeting already, selling your sport to get more student body folks out to participate and establish that the numbers on our programs a little higher. That would be huge. With the cuts that happened in the spring, the athletic department wasn't tackled that hard. I don't know if a lot of people know, we took $5,000 off our budget in 3 different categories because of the budget cuts. But that $5,000 had been put in the year before. So what we had been working with, were kind of on that track and knew what to do anyway. So as I established the budget going forward this year, it was based on probably 2 years ago or the year before last. So we're in good shape. Obviously, you always need more funding and all that good stuff, but where we're at, we can work with, and I think the strength of our athletic programs is strong. Our district does a great job not only supporting us with those budgets, they support us with the transportation in many ways as well. Things that don't take place at small Class A schools at other places as well. So very appreciative of that. But retaining those coaches is huge. I really do think so. I know I coached for years, and when I come into this position, I think 10 years ago as athletic director, we had several coaches that were not in the building. And a lot of our assistant coaches aren't. But to have 11 to 15 last year that were working in this building in some capacity, who had that academic background, working with students during the day, that had that hands-on approach each and every day in the building and at practices and stuff, was huge. So that's something strengthening going forward. We'll look to continue there. And I'll go back to what I said, the selling in part. This is, I know we've gone through some tough times, but I think this is our administrators, the athletic department, our parents, our student athletes, our coaches, obviously. We've got to sell it. We're in good shape going forward. And I think that's huge.
Just again, emphasize the point that one of the strengths that I bring to the table as superintendent is having the background as being a coach of varsity programs for boys and girls for 10 years. So as I understand that many of my student athletes, the only reason they came to school was because of track after school that day. A lot of times I was the only positive influence that was in their life, and so I understand it. That athletics can oftentimes be the backbone of our school district, but it cannot be the sole emphasis and focus. So just coming with that perspective and that lens allows me to create a system of equity and support across all of our schools, because I also understand what it's like to be in a school district that was football centric and track got thrown into the deal all the time. So leading with that mentality of making sure there is equity and support for all of our different sports that we have, because I will say again, just to emphasize the point that Jerry made, is when I was at the CASA conference last week, looking at all the things that Berea offers is rare. It is not common that a school our size has as many opportunities for kids to be involved as what we do. So that's something that we can celebrate and make sure that it is known when we are utilizing a PR director to communicate the things that are great about our district, which is a good segue to the next question, which is, with a school our size, we have an opportunity to do some very innovative educational programming. But ideas that you have that will not only improve our academics, but also set us apart through innovative ideas.
Okay, I'll begin, and I think Mr. Pointer will add to that. But regarding innovative programming, I think it's very important that our students, not only when they learn, that they can connect that learning to real and authentic experiences. So that's where that collaboration piece comes in. Each year we will have visitors to come into the building, everyone from artisans in Old Town that are glass blowing, or they're doing blacksmithing, or they're doing all different types of arts, and it brings that learning to life for our students. Also, we have Mr. Woodward here, and he actually was featured in Kentucky Teacher several years ago with the Department of Education for launching a high-altitude weather balloon into space. And he and his students, it was really a neat, authentic experience for them. And so I think that's very important. Again, going back to finding those resources and having, those outside people to come in. Performance-based tasks are very important. Obviously, we have to focus on the formative assessments and the summative assessments and the writing pieces so that we get our students prepared for testing. But also, when we really turn that into real-life experiences, it makes a huge difference. And I think that's where it becomes very innovative for our teachers and our students to have a very good experience.
She kind of nailed what I was going to say. It's real world opportunities, and starting that is with the experience from the youngest levels all the way through. We're such a unique school system, being able to have a child start here in preschool and go all the way through 12th grade. So with that being said, might I say it's innovative, but like it is innovative to an extent with our school being able to provide a certain type of culture for the learning that is in our building, and the relationship building that we have the opportunities for our students to build upon those. I'll throw a stat out there for you, and I think Ms. Caldwell does a really good job with this and her focus on college and career readiness. About 6 or 7 years ago, I think I was taking a class on one of the, can't even remember which one of the degrees I was getting, but it was 15-mile radius from most schools is where the student lives within after they graduate. I think Berea Community has done a much better job over the last 6 to 7 years in that time whenever I saw that stat of trying to outreach in our environment that's local. Whether it's trying to build partnership with programming or the factories within our area, or in Richmond, Kentucky, we're really embedded in sending our high school students on trips through previous Gear Up trips and other grants that we've had to expose students with what's out there and those opportunities, and then try to bring that in and bring that within the classroom to engage learning. So I think that Berea, with such a small environment and population with our students, has an opportunity that's very unique to be able to focus on that and to be creative with our learning, which I think that we do a good job. And I think with our leadership present right now, we're already focusing on this, very positive conversations that he's backing us upon. And it's something that I feel like that it's exciting, to be honest with you, to be able to build upon that. Sometimes you got to hit rock bottom before you can really build back up. And I've seen a lot of positive in these meetings that we've had this summer. And I think there's a great excitement amongst our staff to be able to build upon that. So kind of a little bit off track there, but it also all is connected.
And then one other thing is we have several festivals in town each year. We have the Berea Celtic Festival, where we have more than 100 musicians to come into town. So generally when those festivals come to town, we invite those musicians and artists to come and talk with our students, and our students learn so much about the arts. So Celtic Festival's coming up the third weekend in August. And then of course we also have the Berea Crafts Festival. And on many occasions, our elementary, middle, and high students get to go out there and they get to be a part of the arts. So that's another piece that is very innovative for our school district.
Yeah, if there's one thing that I have come to find over the last month of being superintendent here is, you look around this campus and this facility and this district, and how could you not think that it's innovative? Just in its design and its structure. This place is one of the most creative communities I've ever been a part of. It is built upon just the innovative structure of what school can be. And so I just want to make it clear is that we are not Madison County. We are not striving to be Madison County. We are not model, and we're not striving to be model. We're going to shift the narrative to where they're going to look at what we're doing, and they're going to want to emulate us. So we're going to shift that narrative based upon the work that we're going to accomplish together as a team, as a community, and as a school. And it's going to continue through this collaborative effort that we're showcasing here tonight. Okay, do we have options for test prep, specifically ACT prep for students this year? How do we know what is offered for our students?
Okay, so as many of you may have read, high school is looking at shifting to the SAT. And that would be a state initiative. We are currently at the ACT, but they're having very heavy conversations, and it's looking like it is going to go to the SAT. Gear Up has been a very strong support for us in providing test prep, and we are losing that grant. However, that ends on September 30th, and the director of Gear Up has reached out to us and is going to provide test prep for us again this year, and we have already set those dates. So the test prep will be based on if they make the final decision of SAT, then it will be SAT test prep. And that will be for both our juniors and seniors, because our high school students really have not taken the SAT in the past. Very few students have. So we're gonna have to really provide supports in the format of what that looks like, but we do already have on the calendar the torch prep company. They are expensive, but again, Gear Up is going to pay for that. We're very grateful to Gear Up for doing that. Also, throughout the year, we are going to specifically focus on ACT prep with our juniors. We will also have several blitz opportunities for our students to practice KSA-like and ACT-like items. So we want to embed that throughout the year in instruction. We also have built in a couple of courses that are specifically for ACT prep. So those students that want to be in that course, we have some materials already here in the building that we can provide that ACT or SAT prep for them. Because some of our students are still going to be taking ACT for college admissions. So we really want to make sure that they're getting those opportunities. So I think throughout the year, we do have these opportunities embedded for them. And then we will also look at students on an individual basis. We are very grateful to have a Title I interventionist at every level, elementary, middle, and high. So we have 3 interventionists, and I'm confident they will be working together. You know, academics are a feeder program. It's no different than athletics, and we have to really start young with them, making sure that they're getting those needed interventions and mastering those skills and filling all of those learning gaps. So I think our interventionists will be working together, and we do have the specific SAT, ACT prep options in place for them.
I just wanted to tag onto that. SAT versus ACT. SAT is the Scholastic Aptitude Test, and we're all pretty much used to and familiar with the ACT. If I were to try to summarize, and I tried to do this for myself because it can be confusing as what is the real difference between the SAT and the ACT. Basically, it comes down to this: the ACT has its own standalone science questions or section, and it's really geared. And ACT is also timed; it's really geared for speed. The SAT is different in the way that it does not have a separate standalone science section, let's say, but it focuses more on the reading and how you move that evidence-based stuff that you've read into that reading and answer questions that way. So yes, there are science questions, but there's not a separate section. Now this is not the only difference. The way they score is different. So there's other things, but if I was asked, I asked myself because it's kind of hard to address that. Though that's one of the big differences that you see. SAT is more evidence-based, and I did get word today from KDE. They gave me kind of a vague answer, but there was an issue between the 2 vendors, which has been resolved, and it looks like we are going to that SAT.
So as you all can imagine, it is very difficult sometimes to communicate effectively when the goal line moves all the time. They told us a couple weeks ago that it was going to be the SAT, but then the College Board petitioned for it to be able to say the ACT, and so we didn't want to have to wipe egg off our face and say we're moving to one thing and then it gets shifted. So as soon as we get 100% confirmation that it's going to be the SAT, that's when we will communicate with families so that they can prepare effectively and that we can adjust accordingly to make sure that everybody's prepared to take that exam. Okay, the next question is, could we have more athletic opportunities for elementary, cross country, basketball, etc.?
Okay, Mr. Pointer's going to talk on this a little bit too, but I'll start. As I mentioned earlier, we do have several opportunities for middle school and high school to participate in athletics. And at times, we have given opportunities to our elementary students, but obviously there's not as many opportunities as we would like. A lot of times with our middle school sports, if we have enough student athletes to fill out a middle school team, we typically try not to go down to elementary. So that's kind of been our guideline there. At times, that's not the case. For example, if you have a middle school basketball team and you're trying to fill out a 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade team, then a lot of times we're dipping down into the elementary level to fill out especially that 6th grade squad. The other thing that we get into with middle school is there's several sports that there's several sports that an elementary student could not participate in at the high school level. Okay, so there's sports that it can only be 7 through 12. So you may even have a 6th grader who can't participate at the high school level on a high school team. Now, we have some outstanding elementary kids in athletics, I do know that. So there are also times where in some of our smaller sports, I know at one point I was coaching archery and we had 55 kids and 20 of those kids were elementary kids at one point. Then I think it just varies team to team how that plays out, I really do. I will say this, that I know talking to Mr. Pointer, I think some of the things that are going to help, go back to the other question that I had as far as strengthening our programs. We're going to have tables set up during our Friday night bash for athletics. So that, not only can the middle school and high school folks go to those tables and kind of get some information, but elementary kids are able to do that too. We've talked about K through 12 or P through 12 pep rallies this coming year, which is huge. I think having Mr. Pointer, who is an invested parent also on this side of the building, being in the elementary principal role, I think will help because he's going to be really pushing some athletic stuff, I think, over there too, that maybe we haven't had as much in the past. So I think that would be huge. We did start back this for the first time in probably 5 years or so. We had a youth basketball league this past winter, and I actually helped with that. I was one of the coaches with Mr. Harris in that youth league. So we've tried to reestablish that basketball league during the winter months. I know Mr. Thomas, our prior football coach, he was trying to establish a flag football league in the spring. I'm not sure that really got ever taken, off the ground, but he had that in his plans. So there's things like that you could do. And Mr. Pointer and I had conversations about some things in elementary that, he's generating ideas and thoughts about that we can do going forward for those kids as well. But to strengthen our high school and middle school programs, obviously we need those elementary kids involved. If you start that early like that, then you're only going to see numbers grow in middle school. You're going to see numbers grow up as they enter in the high school as well.
Yeah, it's culture, and culture is really the key. I feel like we've been so separated amongst our the elementary has been so separated in the past with not participating with the middle school and high school in events. It doesn't, we're not even having this athletics. I mean, athletics is a big portion of that, but having and creating and installing that ownership and pride within those young students to be a part of that will also retain some of these students to be proud and want to stay here and not want to transfer going into high school to participate in Madison County sports, but building that at a very young age. One of the things I remember when I was in school is we used to have intramural programs for elementary. And it might just be that it's a week or two, like March Madness or something like that, where school level, like first grade, might have like play against the first grade teams, the second grade plays against the second grade team or classrooms. But installing some types of competition within the middle school, it's not all about athletics. And I know my son plays soccer, and that's the only thing he's interested in. But I know that all students are not invested in athletics or have an interest in that. But finding ways to drive competition to create that spirit within our students will also help build our athletic programs as we go forward. But not being so separated. We are a community school, so I want the elementary to be involved heavily with the middle school and the high school as we go forward. And I think that that would be a wonderful thing for us, actually, a building block.
I just want to say one more thing. As these cuts were made, we didn't cut any sports. I just want to make that clear. We did, with track, cross country, put them back where it was one team instead of a middle school team and a high school team. Now, if you look back through our sports programs years ago, it was always like that. Archery's like that, swimming's like that, golf's like that. I know I'm leaving something out, but so we took track and cross country and put it back into that situation. We were able to do that a few years back, separate those because we had really high numbers and we were granted extra stipend, coaching stipends from the Board of Education, which was great. Maybe in the future going forward that comes back. I can't say yes or no on that, but we didn't cut any sports, okay? And I know it still may limit some elementary kids from being able to participate up because of that, but we didn't eliminate anything.
Yeah, we're trying to avoid a lot of babies, but the compounded effect of increasing attendance, academic achievements, enrollment numbers, all of those things build up to hopefully bolster our athletic programs by creating more coaching stipends and those types of things. All right, next one is, it is difficult to find policies and the student handbook for high school. When will it be available online for easy access when students and or parents have questions? Many other districts have these easily accessible on their websites. Families can look to see graduation requirements and policies.
Okay, I agree that all of these should be on our website, and as you know, we are working to revamp our social media and also to reconfigure our websites to make them more easily accessible and so that we can navigate through those easily. So I fully intend to work, and I'll speak on behalf of middle and high school, to get those handbooks online and easily accessible, and also our SBDM policies and bylaws as well. So all of those should be on there. Our students do receive a copy of the handbook. Sometimes they may not make it home, but at the first week we do break down that handbook, and in each period go over specific topics that are covered in that handbook that are very important topics in there. So again, I'll be working with the technology department, be working with our human resources to and also our PR to make sure that we get all of those handbooks accessible for you, because I think that is definitely a valid question.
And I think I can touch on that a little bit here. So a couple of years ago, we had a different website host, and now the website host is Aptigee, who also supply the app. And they actually I've been in contact with them recently about a revamp of our entire, like a facelift to our entire district website, as well as each individual high school or individual school website. And I will be working closely with our new communication specialist and digital media manager over here, Luke Seals. He's got a gift for graphic design and quite a lot of different media controls. It's amazing. We're going to make the website as accessible, it's easy to use for all users. That way it also showcases exactly what we want to showcase, almost like a curated experience for all the users, but still meet any KRS or KDE law that requires us to have specific items up. So I think that's one of the bigger things that halts school websites is that they get crowded with they end up looking like spreadsheets because the state requires so many things to be just prominent and accessible, and it kind of buries everything else. So, but yeah, we're excited to do that. So.
Can I add something to that real quick? So one thing that I think that we lose perspective of as a parent sometimes, and I've even done this as a parent myself because I have a child here, is that you trap it to another website like Madison County or something like that. And Dr. Neve said this, we're not Madison County. I don't think that a lot of times that not only do we provide so much as teachers and staff for our students, we wear so many hats in this community to make sure that this place excels. And I'm speaking from teacher perspective, I'm teaching from an administrative perspective. We have less manpower sometimes, but we do amazing things in this district to try to really elevate that. So getting a new PR person and having Dr. Neve come in and prioritize the accessibility for all these things that we need as communication tools and for our families to have this information is really already starting. So I think that parents will be very pleased with that. But it's easy to lose perspective of that sometimes. And I see that, and I've watched it grow, and I've watched it dip, and and I feel like that we're heading in the right direction for that communication piece for district-wide.
As students withdraw and choose to attend other districts, what are we doing to collect their feedback on what needs to be improved to keep them at Berea?
All right, so I can speak to this in two ways. Usually, if we've got somebody who transfers to the county or the model or something who has got a bit of a surprise, I'll reach out personally, especially if I know the family personally, and get an idea of what's going on. But at the end of every summer session, I wait until we roll over our communication tool, and then I'll send a survey out to the families of students who have left, and we'll kind of look at the reasons that they have for why students are leaving, why they left with their students, those kinds of things. Like I say anecdotally right now, a lot of the folks are just worried about where we're moving, where we're going, and that's why they're leaving. So I kind of expect them to see the great things that are happening and want to come back. So that's my main goal is to make that grass nowhere near as green as it is right here.
Can the district provide more information about SB 181 and how it would impact communication amongst parents, volunteers, coaches, etc.? Why is the district not providing a waiver, and how will that impact everyone involved? So as you may have seen just a little bit before this meeting, we did reverse decision on the waiver. I will just explain again, the reason for not going with the waiver initially was because this bill in and of itself has a litany of misnomers, of contradictions, of ambiguity, and it puts us as teachers and as administrators and as parents in such a gray area of liability. And it's unfair on the district and the parents to have to operate under that umbrella. And so that's why the waiver was never utilized at the beginning, because the best example is one that I shared with staff was it says a parent can revoke a waiver of another parent. In any legal jargon language, that would say that Kyle could revoke anybody down here's child's waiver. And so that doesn't make any sense. So I'm not going to put us in a position where we open the doors to liability. So that was why the waivers were never utilized in the first place. As far as SB 181, we try to keep it as simple as possible because there are good intentions behind it. They're trying to limit untraced communications that take place with nefarious intent. And so we can put a traceable system in effect that allows, if there is ever a question, to say, why were you texting that child? What were you texting them? Any of us could immediately access, or parents could access all of that traced communication. So if you are talking about
putting like a lot of coaches wanted to have Haja, or they wanted to have main app, or they wanted to have Remind. If you've got this coach uses this, and this coach uses this, and this class uses this, that gets very confusing for parents to know they've got to have 7 apps on their phone by the end of the day just to keep up with all the organizations that their kids are part of. So we as a district decided, we're already paying for Apogee, it's already hosting our website, we already have it, it wasn't rolled out effectively, let's do it right to have one consistent form of communication, because that's how we're going to clear up a lot of the issues. If we approved 7 different platforms, then it just opens the door again for miscommunications to take place. So added to base value, SD 181 is about having traceable communication that takes place between parents, volunteers, coaches, and students. Again, where it doesn't do a great job with the underlying fact of a small school community like Berea is that your neighbor who may be a senior in high school that may be babysitting for you or mowing your lawn, but you're a 3rd grade teacher, doesn't account for that. And so that's where the waivers can be effective, and we are going to utilize those now. So they're going to be available at the school offices, and we're going to have a little bit more information to give to anybody that comes to the Back to School Bash on Friday to be able to get those filled out and on file.
Yeah, in regards to the waiver, we'll have a posting out there with a link to the waiver that you can print off yourself, and we have got to come up with a plan for how we're going to house those and keep those. We're going to communicate with our staff.
Because just the other big thing on the waivers is the way that the law is written, and this came from the Office of the Attorney General released guidance on Friday. And so we had the weekend to kind of digest, and that's why the decision was made today on Monday. It says that the district is not allowed to encourage waivers. So I'm not allowed to stand here and say, hey, you should definitely fill out a waiver. So that's kind of another gray area where, yes, we have it, but we can't really push them and say you should definitely fill these out. So again, another little bit of a difficult situation to navigate. Okay, in what ways are the school district and schools doing to promote student leadership and student voice? Will there be student council in the schools? Will there be some kind of superintendent advisory council? And I'll just answer this one while I have the mic is yes, there will be a superintendent's advisory council. One thing I've been waiting for very impatiently is for kids to get back on campus. I miss the kids. It's great to work with the adults all the time, but the heartbeat of our school is our kids. And so I want to work with them, give them a voice. One thing that I always took a lot of pride in was giving students a voice in the direction of the school, incorporating them into the decision-making process, because at the end of the day, it's for them and guided for them. So yes, there will be a superintendent advisory council.
Yeah, so elementary-wise, we'll have student council. We also have Ms. Natasha Johnson here that has a leadership group as well that she leads in the elementary. So we'll be establishing a student council in elementary this year. We established one in middle school the last 2 years, and probably could have done a little bit more with it, but we were just trying to get it off the ground. And I know that Ms. Lewis and the middle school guidance counselor is going to be working with Ms. Caldwell to keep that in the middle school as well. So yeah, so one, students to have a voice and to have that ownership of their school. That's the way you're going to create pride within their school. And it gives an opportunity for everyone to be involved at the level that they want to be in, and we encourage that.
So at middle and high school, last year we developed a leadership student team, and we broke that down into 3 areas, which are culture, academics, and leadership. We also have 3 action teams in the high school, and I'm hoping that that will trickle down to middle school as well. So every teacher is on one of 3 action teams, and they can choose which that they feel they can benefit best from. And they meet once per month. We come up with action items on ways that we can help our school, ways that we can help our students, and we just come up with solutions for that. And then we try to put those into action. Also, we have class officers at the high school level. Our class officers are very involved in different things, from homecoming to prom to just helping out with all of those extracurricular activities that we need help with. They also are an integral part in decision making. So we also want to focus on student council. Getting a student council in place at the high school for next year. Keep our leadership team, student team working with our leadership action teams, and then also continue with our class officers.
I'll add in, Frisk also has some leadership teams. So we talked about elementary or 4th and 5th graders. We have about 10 to 12 of those kiddos that lead projects on the elementary side. We also have sources of strength in the middle school, and so that's about 10 to 12 kids per grade level that are trained in ways to be leaders, and they carry out projects within the whole middle school. And we also have a group of high schoolers that do leadership projects. So they helped with 6th grade orientation. They are coming and setting up and helping our community on back to school night. Those are the kids that kind of run homecoming. And also unique to Berea is the fact that we can use our middle schoolers and high schoolers down at our elementary level. So recognizing kids that would pair well with some of our younger students, we use those juniors and seniors that can be TAs, and we may partner them in a specific classroom or with a specific student.
One additional thing that may not be as well known, but our career and technical education programs of studies are required to have a career and technical student organization active. And what that does is for each one of those programs, it allows those students in those programs to compete at regional and state levels, and it also allows them to participate in governance of those organizations. So they can be president, secretary, all those different things if they choose to. So career and technical education really promotes student voice, and it really promotes the leadership side of pathways as well.
Okay, this next one has several things all together, almost kind of rapid fire. Will there be a librarian for elementary and a librarian for middle high school? Will there be a JROTC program? And will there be a study hall learning lab period for high school students, specifically online dual enrollment students to utilize?
So yes, Ms. Caldwell and I was actually talking about it today. When Ms. Leah Graham is our district library and media specialist, when she's on campus here, when teachers report back on Wednesday, we're going to sit down and work on a schedule. It's a 0.5, so half the day there'll be a librarian in elementary, and half the day there'll be a librarian in middle school, high school to work out. So we'll be working out a schedule on how we will utilize that together.
There will not be a JROTC program. We have not had the level of interest to have a JROTC program. There are also several moving factors with this program, which would include staffing, spacing, materials, and things that we would need. I believe this is an excellent program for students. I did hear that several years ago we had a small number of students that actually were transported over to our sister school and participated in JROTC there. So, I'm very open to those collaborative efforts if that's something that we had an interest in with our students. And obviously, if we had the level of interest, then we could definitely delve into this and look at possibly creating a program of our own. But again, there are a lot of factors included with JROTC, but it is absolutely an excellent program. I've been involved with that in the past, and we've had some very strong programs in another district. So that is something I would definitely invite further conversation if we had more interest in that. As far as a study hall, at high school level, we do not have study hall. We do have learning labs for our exceptional students. As you know, we do have a high number of special education students. We are 28% now for preschool through 12. So we do have a learning lab every day for those students for specific progress monitoring and data checks and ensuring that those students are learning and growing. We also will have a class each period that will be set for dual credit online students or credit recovery students, and for those students that want to take select elective courses such as Spanish 1 online or Spanish 2 online, because we do not currently have a world languages program. So we will still have that online course for those students that need those classes. We will have, again, as I mentioned, we will have our Title I interventionist, and she will also be helping with credit recovery as well, doing push-in and pull-out interventions and providing those tiered interventions for our students.
Okay, so that concludes the standard run of the questions that we had submitted. We try to condense them down as much as possible. A lot of them were the same question, just asked in several different ways. So we tried to give a diverse perspective for a lot of different voices. Now, what we would end with is one final question that really tries to recapture some of that theme that occurred March through May. And as a panel, we're going to go down the end, starting with Mr. Owens. We're all just going to answer the question of why Berea. Because I do think that it's important that us as administrators convey to you as a community why Berea, and then we're going to use that as a platform for moving forward.
So the big thing for me, why Berea, some of you guys are graduates, I'm a graduate, 99 graduate of Berea, I can tell you, Berea creates a climate, an atmosphere, something you won't get at other schools. I've taught at East Jessamine, I've taught at Garrett County, I was at Powell County. So I've moved around. I ended up back at Berea as principal, now the maintenance and transportation. We're small, graduated 77 kids in 1999. That's about what the kids graduate with now. I started over that in those hallways on that side with no walls at that time. Some of you guys know what it was like. And then no walls over here, just one big school. You're going to get something here that you don't get anywhere else, and that's why you should come to Berea, stay at Berea, because we're going to give you opportunities. Everybody's going to know your name. Everybody knows who you are from the time you're in kindergarten all the way through your 12th grade year.
Probably the best way for me to answer this question is to just say that I've been in education for 30 years. I've worked due to coaching, I bounced around to, I think, 12 different school districts. I've worked in schools with 2,300 kids. I've worked in schools with that area, 3A, 4A, 5A, super sized schools. I have 4 children. Proudly, I have a daughter who graduated from Berea in 2022. I had a daughter who graduated here in 2024. I have a senior this year, my youngest daughter, 2026. And my son is a sophomore, and he is 2028. I've had multiple opportunities to go other places. I've had multiple opportunities to take my kids to other places, and that was never in the conversation. It was never an option. My children would tell you at the time that they spend here, the 2 that have graduated, and even the one that's a little bit senior, they would tell you that they have made lifelong, lasting friendships here. I don't think that, and I believe this, I don't think that you're going to have the close-knit environment at other places that you do here. I'm very fortunate in the fact that I really love the fact that I get to be the assistant principal K through 12. So my youngest daughter started here in 1st grade, and that group of kids, I've watched those kids grow from little babies to now they're all going to be seniors. So it's bittersweet. But at the same point in time, I think it's amazing to just watch these kids grow and develop and know their past and know their history, know the obstacles that they face. And that makes all the difference in the world, because if they know that somebody actually cares, and guys, you don't get that at a big school, I promise you. You just don't. There's 2,300 kids walking the halls. It just does not happen. It's all about corralling kids and putting kids in rooms and hoping to God that we get to the end of the day without something crazy happening. And we just don't have those problems here. My son has friends at Madison Southern. My son has friends at Madison Central. They begged him, and he will not even talk about leaving here. So that to me is really the only, that's all I need to know, is that my kids are happy, my kids enjoy that. And if they didn't, they would tell me, and then they would make the decision to go somewhere else. But that has never been a conversation in our house. It's just been a great experience. I have nothing negative to say. So that's my why.
We talked about this earlier, so I had some time to think about this, and the thing that popped in my head is it's knowing the people and so many dedicated. I mean, I've been in this building the last 2 months, off and on, as administrator works a lot more. We have so many dedicated teachers that I don't understand why they're down here every day, but they are getting ready for these kids, and 2 of them are sitting right there, and I'm just like, why are you here? It's because they are dedicated to providing the best opportunity for your child or the students that come to this school. 2 words kind of come to mind when I was thinking about this, what Berea is in my 22 years as a teacher, as an assistant principal, as a DPP, school safety coordinator during COVID, and seeing all that craziness, and then going back to be a principal, and now 2 different schools. It's individualized compassion. Your teachers provide an individualized experience through compassion to these students, and you're not going to get that anywhere else. And that's really, you could take that word individualized and stretch it in so many more different directions. It's a compassionate place that we have the best interest for your child, for the students to participate with us and go to school through here. And it's going to be really difficult to go somewhere where everyone knows your name and everyone knows your experience and knows your family and knows possibly the hardships or the specialized education and care and love that you may need. And that happens every day here. It happens every day here. And it's and every person that is in this building, as staff, I'm speaking about, want to be here because they see the same thing that I see, and they see the potential that we have every day in here and what the difference we can make. So when Dr. Neve says we're not Madison County, no, we're not. We have an opportunity to be much, much better than that. And we're on the horizon for the bad things that's happened in the last couple of years, and now it's time for us to kind of get back to where we were. And I feel like that we truly will. But to sum it up, and I wrote it down, it's really, to me, it's individualized compassion to be able to provide for these, our community. And that's that. That's what I would say. That's that.
All right. I first walked in the doors of Berea Community 1978 as a kindergarten student. Never really left. So went on to Berea College after I graduated, class of 91 here. At the age of 19, I started coaching down here. So 33 years in athletics, starting my 29th year of teaching. The thing for me is being comfortable. So I know I'm safe, I know I'm comfortable, I know the folks here I know everybody in the building if I'm a student most likely. And I've transitioned not only through my life, the stages of my life as a student here, from the elementary side, middle school, high school, with some of the same folks that made me as a student feel comfortable and loved and safe. And I think that's huge for Berea. Sorry.
For me, I'm much the same. I started kindergarten here and graduated in 2007. My mom has taught here for now 31 years. My dad went to school here, my grandparents went to school here, cousins, aunts, uncles, and now my son is a 4th generation pirate. So for me, it's home. It shaped who I am as a human, as a person. To be able to come back and lead Frisk is a way for me to just give back to a place that puts so much into me. The traditions here are fantastic. So I'm excited to do these pep rallies that are preschool through 12th grade again, because I remember those pep rallies when I was a student here. I remember from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade coming to every home football game. It was just kind of bred into my family that this is our school. So for me, it's home, and I want to be able to continue that legacy that we've had for so many years.
So my story is a little different. I lived in Berea for 13 years, left Berea for about 12 years or so, and came back. The reason I came back is because my youngest son made me a granddad, and we just wanted to be back in Berea. But the community of Berea was something special. That's the reason that I guess my wife would say we just never got Berea out of our blood, and that's a true thing, because there's so much positive that Berea has. And now that I'm a grandpa, I know as an educator that we're here to teach curriculum, to lend our knowledge that we have and pass it on to the next generations, and do our very best doing that. But more importantly, I think, and what I see, especially since I've been back, this is my 3rd year back here, is that Berea not only teaches the curriculum well, but it also looks out for the whole child. And I have seen that so much, especially over the last year and a half. If you would ask me that my first year here, what I thought about Berea, I would have said there's a lot of resources here, even comparable to some larger districts. The equipment that our classrooms have, the Chromebooks, and all those different things, that's a positive thing. All larger districts, though, cannot say that they really look out for the whole child. They may say it, but do they really do it? That's what I have seen here at Berea, and that's why I'm so thankful for. That is my why, and why I want my grandson to be here in Berea.
So my why kind of links into a couple of others. You'll notice as I share, but my big why is that individualization for every student and considering every student as a person and a whole person, a whole child. So really our mission is about kids. It's about growth. It's about creating opportunities for them and ensuring that if things are getting in the way, that we're doing something about it. We're not just ignoring it and pushing forward. We're trying to sweep those barriers under a rug. Instead, we're really looking at kids and figuring out how can we help you get around the things that have you stuck, or the things that maybe are getting in the way of your ability to be successful. I can truly say that the staff here care about kids. I'm starting my 26th year at Berea, my 26th year in education. I've been here the whole time because I've seen this from day one, and it is a passion of mine to ensure that every kid has what they need to be mentally healthy and to be happy and to make progress and create opportunity for their life. And if things are getting in the way, then we want to assure that we're dealing with those things and that we're helping kids get around those barriers, which is why I think we have such excellent specialized supports in our district. It's because a lot of people share that same philosophy, that same perspective. And so when we look at a student who might possibly need special education services, we're looking at everything that kid needs. Our evaluations look at every component of a child to see what is it that you need. Maybe it is special education, but maybe what you need is some counseling with one of our guidance counselors or one of the people in our building that are providing that mental health support. So it could be something totally different than what we think or what it looks like on the surface. And I really think that we as a district, as a staff, dig deep into that and ensure that kids get what they need and that we're creating opportunities. One of the last things that kind of ties into that a little bit is we also are very willing to step outside the box. We're very willing to take on unique opportunities. For example, right now we have a mental health grant going on called Access. And it's called Access because the whole point of the grant is to create access to mental health services. and help families, students, parents, teachers, staff, everybody involved in this community, this school community, to understand and know where those supports are and how they can access those supports, and creating more of those opportunities right here in our district, which again comes back to breaking down some of the barriers that families have in seeking mental health supports for their students. So we're open to those unique opportunities, and we don't shy away from those because we see the benefit for kids. So if you come to back to school night, we will have a resource table for access set up, and would be happy to share more information about that activity as a part of that event. So, but just to kind of wrap all that back up into one concise thought, it really is about what we do for kids and opportunities that we want to create for them, and ensuring that when things get their way, we help move those things out of the way.
And to add to what Ms. Witt said, 9 years ago, I moved here to Berea, and I automatically fell in love with it. I felt so much reception in this community since I moved here. As many of you know, I taught high school Spanish and French before becoming a counselor and then moving into principalship. And there are so many values in this community that align with my beliefs and the way that we approach students. I can tell you that some of my very best days in this building is when I can spend time with our exceptional students, or when I can spend time with our non-English speakers. We have 24 students in the building, preschool through 12, that speak little to no English. So just being able to stand in that front foyer and give them a high five and just say hello to them in Spanish, or to just greet them, to see the look on their face means everything to me. We have a great community here of faculty and staff. You know, I always say we're like a little family. We might have our differences or disagree on things, but when it really comes time to pull together and work for the benefit of our students, we're all here every time. And we have so many things that are going on after school. I see so many faculty and staff members that are at after school events. It's just amazing to me. Because we do have that family model. So when I think about the why, it's really promoting diversity. It is, this district absolutely promotes inclusion and acceptance of all students. I love that piece. And then also, we are able to empower our students, and we're able to challenge them, sometimes beyond what they believe is their boundary, and they can go above that. So I'm just very grateful to be a part of this community, and again, it just has that family feel, and I think our students absolutely deserve the opportunity to show what they're made of.
So as a Berea graduate in 2016, before I went to middle school in Fayette County, and I remember my years in middle school there, and I just did not fit in. I guess a lot of it is just we had 400 kids in one grade. It was just a crazy experience. They used to have these concrete stalls in the bathroom. It was just crazy. But I do remember my first day as a freshman at Berea Community, which was my first day at Berea in general, and walking into Miss McKay's chemistry class, first period. And by the end of class, I already had 5 new friends and their phone numbers on my phone. And I was just like, this is unreal. This is unreal. I'm proud to say that I've been to many of their weddings, and I'm going to be the groomsman to one of them here coming soon. Those lifelong connections that I've made at Berea are one of the reasons I'm inspired to be here. It's one of my whys. The other thing is it's what sparked my tech career, really. I started as a tech intern in the technology department here at Berea. I remember going over, and Nathan would be working as a technology resource manager at the time, and he would send me on odd tasks around the district, fixing things here and there. I remember programming the doors and updating all kinds of little systems here and there, and that really sparked my interest into tech. Because before that, I didn't know what to do. I was kind of without guidance, but now I'm here running the show that I once was a part of, and I'm so happy and I'm so proud of that, and that Berea pride really, really sticks with me. And I am grateful that I'm able to continue that and offer that student co-op option. They join us every year. We have a couple tech interns from the school. Usually we have students handpicked by the counselor who are interested in technical careers join us, and I'm hoping to give them the same spark that was given to me, almost passing that torch along. And maybe there'll be a new Berea Tech director once I'm retired that will be a Berea alumni. I think that would make me proud as well. But yeah, just a lot of that. So.
Okay, so this has been a common theme. I am also a Berea alumni. So I came here for my first day of school in 1995, and I left for a few years, but here we are. So, my wife and I, we moved not to the northern end of the county. It was about work and commutability to Lexington and things like that. And then we had kids. And I was fortunate enough to get a job here, but we lived too far away to really bring kids back and forth every day, so they started in the county. And 2 years ago, I was fortunate enough to be able to bring my kids here. We sold our house, we moved much, much closer, and my kids absolutely loved it here. It's exactly what I wanted for them. I think we all live in a community like this for a reason, and I think this school fits this community. I'm not a big city person, I'm not a big school person. I think the two go hand in hand, and I think for a lot of the same reasons that you're all here in this community. I think this school reflects a lot of those values, and yeah, it means a lot to me. My kids love it here, particularly one on. Just such a change between the experience they were having in the county and here. So, I think this is a special place.
I am not an alumni, however, we talk about a sister school about 1,000 miles away where I grew up. It's almost exactly like Berea. It's a K-12 school that was created in the 60s, 70s, and didn't have walls, and that's how I grew up. And when I graduated from high school there, my kindergarten teacher came and told me that she still had the cassette of the recordings I made as a kindergartner with words that rhyme with duck. And I've matured since then. But that's the kind of thing that I want for my children. I want my kid to have Natasha's mom come embarrass him at his graduation. So that's why Berea for me. And I think in the world of open borders, where you have your kids says a lot about what you think about the school that you're in.
Yeah, also not an alumni, so I think that from the past 5 weeks of getting to learn in this community, at this point I think it would be inappropriate for me to say why Berea, because you all are the reason for why Berea. So instead I'll shift the perspective to just say that for me, why Berea right now is that you all deserve a leader that is transparent and that is visible and is present. You deserve a leader that puts teachers first, that looks forward to working with students to create an environment to where we no longer aim high and dare to be great, but where success is inevitable. So thank you all for your attendance at this first session. We look forward to continuing to build upon this progress that we made tonight with restoring the relationship with our community, building strong partnerships with our parents, and being visible, transparent, honest, and open. So as we conclude, we're all going to be here. We're going to be available if there's any individual questions if you'd like to come up and ask. But again, we thank you for your attendance. Luke is going to take the video footage from this and work through that and make it available online so that it can be referenced and brought back to frequently as an FAQ session as these types of things come up. We hope that we were able to answer some diverse questions from different areas, and we look forward to answering more questions as they come up. Thank you all again.